We are not live. This is a pre-recorded podcast, but for those of you tuning in, it is in the premiere mode if you're on YouTube. So you'll be seeing it as we're talking, but not while we're talking, if that makes sense. I'm Chris, the host of Crash Canon, and I have a special guest today. He's actually the son of a very famous person. We have the son of Joe Hahn, the DJ of Lincoln Park, right? No.
Close. This is close. Definitely a musician, although not his day job. But if you look up Han Solo, you might actually see him perform with Matt Maher on on stage.
Did you say Han Solo?
Yeah. No, it's
like Hahn Solo, not Han. So not Star Wars Solo. Okay.
No, he's got his Fender Stratocaster and he's just going to town. So yeah.
Well, I'm glad to have you here. We got to meet each other in Steubenville. That was cool because I was there for the Steubenville conference. So
yeah, the Catholic Creators Conference. I didn't even know that was happening, and I just happened to be sitting in Leonardo's. I got my Mocha Lisa on the one hand. I got my laptop, and I'm writing thank you notes to all the different donors that I work, and for my work. And in walks this crowd of delinquent Catholic creators, and I had the best time meeting all of you. You guys were fantastic. And for some reason, you were also interested in speaking with me, which I was very flattered by.
Which I only knew you as David when I was introduced. I didn't know you had any connections to anybody that lived there.
So that's very touching. There you go.
I think it was Max that introduced me first. And then later I came back with Katie. She goes by Mrs. Ruby online. Yes. And we had a long chat. It was me, you, Katie, and somebody else. Franco. It was Franco. He was there too. That's right.
Yes. And we also got to see each other again in the St. Paul Center building.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, briefly we're there, and I met some other family members of yours that were there. That was cool.
Yeah. No.
So, who are you? What do you do? Since you're not the son of the DJ of Lincoln Park.
Indeed. So my name is David Hahn. I am the youngest son of the speaker and author and theologian, Dr. Scott Hahn. I currently reside in England. I am a major gift fundraiser for the world's oldest pro-life nonprofit, the Society for the Protection of Unborn Children. In addition to that, I do some freelance writing on the side and try and volunteer at my local parish here in the city of Bath.
City of Bath. Yeah, that's an interesting name for a place. That's for sure.
Well, it's because of all the Roman baths that are here. Do you know this? Right. This is crazy. I don't know much about that, but it's pretty neat.
I've never been across the Atlantic Ocean, I'll be honest.
Wow. Okay. Wow. I'm going to sound like a real snob. No, you should definitely come and check it out. I mean, it's such an eye-opener. For one thing, everything is smaller, and there's no way to actually exaggerate that. The roads, the houses, the cars, the people. Okay. Americans be LA. Listen, no.
Physically bigger.
I'm not saying like Maha movement, but maybe we could trim down a bit. I don't know.
I thought you were like taller, stronger, bigger, not like fatter.
Yeah, you're like, wait a second.
I was thinking American exceptionalism.
Oh, gosh. No, okay. Yeah, no, that's what I meant. Of course.
All right, on that note, you did say the acronym for the organization is SPUC, right? That's an interesting name for it. Yeah.
SPUC. Yeah, Americans hate it. The English, though, they're just like, oh, yes, of course. SPUC. It's the institution. It's fantastic. Yeah.
Oh, it's funny. Like I just heard somebody like literally within the last week, I was helping somebody load up their kids in their car after they were hanging out at our house, and pops on the audiobook first. I don't remember what book it was, but it was a very snobby English accent reading it to them, and it's just funny to me that people pay more money for these audiobooks because they got the English accent. It sounds nice to listen to. Do you ever get like caught up in the fact that you're living over there and like people talk with a different accent than you do? Or does it kind of wear off after a while?
Yeah. So, I mean, the variety of accents definitely gets you because just as you're getting used to one, you're like, all right, I think I get the handle of this. Somebody from the north comes in, you're like, hold on a second, time out. I can't tell if you're insulting me or if, this is some kind of business exchange. I just think we gotta start over. So that's definitely been a learning curve, and it's an ongoing one for sure, especially since the majority of our executives live up in Scotland and are Scottish, and not only Scottish, Glaswegian. And I'll tell you, that's a steep learning curve. Being at a table surrounded by Scots, and most of them from Glasgow, and it's all mutually reinforcing each other. You've seen that YouTube video where the one AI starts talking to the other one. They're like, let's just switch to our own language. It's like that. They just start going. They're like, and you don't even know what's going on. So it was, and then they're like, what do you think, David? I'm like,
I don't know.
Hi.
Yeah, I've heard of. My wife and I used to watch this show. What is it? Shetland? You ever heard of it?
No, what's that?
It's literally a detective mystery show that takes place on like the Shetland Isles.
Nice.
There's a lot of different accents going on in that place.
That's
At least
great.
on the TV show there was. If you don't like violent shows or that kind of stuff, don't watch it. But if you're into detective shows, it's a good one.
Oh yeah, no, I was really into sort of the British period dramas before I came over here, and also I was a super huge fan of the Inklings. I mean, I read, Carpenter's biography of the Inklings and of Tolkien. I loved Lord of the Rings. I mean, it was a dream come true when I went to Oxford for the first time and, went to the Eagle and Child, sat down with my friends. It's closed now. It's so sad.
It's closed?
It's closed. Yeah. I've heard that it's been bought and somebody might be trying to refurbish it, but so far it's been closed. But there's another pub across the street that's called the Lamb and Flag. And they also met there. And we got to go there the last time that I went to visit. But here's a fun fact not many people know. One of the Inklings, Owen Barfield, one of the lesser known Inklings, was one of the original founders of Spuck, the organization.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't even know that when I started working for them. I only found this out this last summer.
Yeah. Well, being as big of a fan of the Inklings as you are, I don't know if you saw, I had posted a clip from myself and Dr. Philip Blosser from a while back where we actually discussed the fact that Tolkien and Lewis wrote themselves into each other's stories a little bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If you had to guess what character Tolkien either consciously or subconsciously wrote C.S. Lewis in as in Lord of the Rings, what would you say it was?
Oh, I don't know. I feel like C.S. Lewis was so out there. I don't know. I'm going to throw this out and sound ridiculous, but maybe I'm right. Let's say Tom Bombadil.
Nope, but that's not too bad of a guess. It's actually Treebeard.
No, really?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh,
yeah.
Treebeard is done dirty in the movies. He is so like such a coward, and he's so awesome in the books. Anyways, this is a whole different.
Well, I mean, the thing about Treebeard is like he gets on board with the mission, right? Like C.S. Lewis becomes Christian, but in Tolkien's world, he doesn't go the full tilt and become Catholic. Treebeard doesn't go the full tilt and go all the way to the gates of Mordor.
Interesting. That is a keen observation. I heard one sort of from one of Tolkien's letters that he actually envisioned the meet between Gimli and Galadriel as a kind of enactment of when C.S. Lewis would finally meet Our Lady in heaven.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that is interesting.
This person who is like this witch from yore and that, this dark primitive figure. And suddenly he's willing to, kill Éomer over her honor, and treasures the hairs that she bestows upon him. I just love that,
That makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, but it's so moving, that idea of just how deeply Gimli is affected in the change. And now considering that presumably C.S. Lewis has met Our Lady and had a similar interaction. I mean, I'm sure that he would be filled with love for our spiritual mother upon their, first meet.
I'm sure. The other aspect of Treebeard that fits C.S. Lewis so well is the reluctancy to join the fight. Like he has to be convinced in like a council style thing, like what they used to do their meetups, and then it's a long conversation before they join the fight.
That's true. There, a lot of forbearance, a lot of I don't know. I look at them and I really see prudence. I don't know.
No, for sure, but they have to be convinced of the truth, right? They don't just accept it.
Indeed, yes, no, absolutely.
So, and then obviously, I'm sure who Tolkien is written into in C.S. Lewis's books, right?
Oh, the professor, for
Yeah,
sure.
Ransom in the Space
Oh,
trilogy. Yeah.
really? He's supposed to be
Yes.
Ransom.
Well, yeah, I mean, Ransom's a philologist. He knows language.
Okay. Well, full disclosure here, and you can judge me all you want. Your audience can judge me. I have never finished the Space trilogy. I
How
picked
far
up
have
the
you
first
gotten
book
through it?
about 3 or 4 pages. Okay. So
Oh,
I like C.S. Lewis. I like C.S. Lewis. I reread each year The Great Divorce.
yep.
Absolutely adore it. Yeah, big fan. Love Till We Have Faces. That really
I have
spoke.
that one on my shelf. I read that last year.
Oh, it's fantastic. And he's exploring a lot of similar themes here, especially the divine as the truly real. I mean, I love it. But I will say that when I started reading the Space Trilogy, it just didn't hook me. So I'm gonna get
So
around to it. I'm gonna wrap back around to it.
let me just help you out here. The Space trilogy, if you don't read the first book, it's fine.
Okay.
I'm not joking. Like I have read the first book
Wow.
3 times.
Okay.
You don't need it for book 2 and 3 really. It barely has an impact. Like it lays out some things that you might
Mm,
want to know in books 2 and 3, but
mm.
if you just read books 2 and 3, you can mostly figure out what happened in book 1.
Now that doesn't sound like a glowing endorsement of book 1, but you're still saying to read book 1, you just don't have to.
I would say most people, if they read books 2 and 3, they'd want to go back and read book 1. But if you
Oh,
start with book 1, it's kind of hard to get through without realizing what the payoff is.
gotcha. That
Does that
sounds like
make sense?
Dickens. Oh, totally.
Okay. So, and then the other thing that is interesting about, to circle back to the Treebeard thing.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons you have Ents allegedly, and Tolkien went back and forth on this one, whether he agreed that was inspired by George MacDonald or not. But the talking trees originally are in George MacDonald's book Phantastes.
Oh, yeah. Have you read Phantastes?
I have. It's
I
fantastic.
love it. It's so good. Oh, more people need to read
Yeah.
this book. I mean, it's weird and it's strange in a
It's
way that
poetic.
either Lewis or Tolkien is strange. The Silver Trumpet is actually a book, I want to say written by Owen Barfield. It was sort of
Okay.
the inception point or the proof of concept for this idea among the Inklings that they could write fantasy literature. And so the Silver Trumpet was kind of written in this same George MacDonald style.
Okay.
And it's
Okay.
great children's book. Highly recommend reading it to, kids, that kind of thing. Reading it for yourself as well. It's definitely on a lower tier than say The Hobbit, but
Yeah.
not much, probably on the same kind of level though that Phantastes would be on, deeply poetical, really though entertaining. But yeah,
Yes.
Phantastes, such an incredible sort of coming of age story and an exploration of fairy as the realm.
Yeah, and the reason why though it makes more sense with the Treebeard situation is C.S. Lewis always points to George MacDonald as his inspiration for fantasy and like the
Oh
original
yeah.
idea of him seeing Christianity in a different way.
Well, and he becomes his Virgil, doesn't he? In
Yeah,
his
yeah,
in his Divine Comedy.
yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then the Treebeard thing like adds up in like 3 different ways inside and outside of the story to be C.S. Lewis, subconsciously or consciously by Tolkien.
Gotcha. Well, that's super cool. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, no problem. I've thought about actually making a video on this, like a long form version explaining all of my thoughts on it, but maybe in the future we'll see.
Yeah, do it, man. Totally. I'll watch it.
All right. On that note, though, I clearly you're a well-read person. How did you get to where you are, and where did you start with your faith journey? I guess obviously cradle Catholic, but I'll give you the floor. How do you want to describe your journey here?
Yeah. So I mean, I would say in some ways unique, in some ways kind of totally bland and standard. Kind of unique. I was the son of this prominent speaker, and so that afforded a lot of unique opportunities. I went to Europe because I was going on pilgrimages that he was going to speak on. I got to attend these public events where he was giving talks, and I met other speakers' children. These were really beautiful, unique opportunities that I was totally unequipped to handle. I really kind of just was like, wow, I must be amazing. Just really kind of internalize this. I'm like, I guess I'm just incredible. All these opportunities, and it doesn't take long for reality to kind of meet that and say, that's completely false. And nobody does that better than middle schoolers, right? So, I mean, middle school for me, you're like, wow, I didn't mean for him to go back that far. No, so like middle school is definitely the first sort of encounter with the world that was just, I think good, kind of like a polar plunge. It
Yeah.
was very clear just how much I didn't fit in. Now I'm saying this not because, oh, I'm so unique, but because this is how we're transitioning to the standard in the bland. Everyone in middle school is just kind of an unvirtuous, terrible person. Okay. Children are awful people. There are some exceptions, but mostly they're terrible people. And that's why we raise them. And then they become, well,
hopefully virtuous people when they grow up,
better.
right?
Right. Yes. Yeah. No, I would say the major thing that changed for me, and this is what I mean by mostly standard. I think like most people of my generation, sort of Gen Z, I was sucked into screens. I spent
Yeah.
way too much time on, my iPod, on my computer. I got sucked into things that I definitely shouldn't have, and really became just ensnared. And it wasn't long before I just became the kind of person you wouldn't want to be friends with. Just not an enjoyable person. And part of the difficulty of being in that position, as I think a lot of teenagers find themselves, is that you don't want to be with yourself either. You're not enjoyable to be around. You want to be with other people, but that
Right.
you're a burden. And I can hear some sort of maybe affectionate correction where people say, well, no, you weren't. And I'd say, fair enough. Just because a
Yeah.
child is annoying and probably quite vicious, it doesn't mean that they're not worthy of love. Although I
Yeah.
would say that I had quite a distance to go before being enjoyable. And I would say, so a big turning point. So obviously I'm raised cradle Catholic. We go to mass every Sunday. We have morning devotions. We have a daily rosary when my father can kind of whip us into shape. But there was a lot of rebellion around the daily rosary.
Now I'm picturing the rosary as a literal weapon when you say it that way.
No, well, I mean, probably the standard that
Yeah.
most Catholics grow up kind of feeling the rosary is like, this thing we have to do. And only when you get older, you're like, oh, wait, this was actually extremely beneficial. So
it becomes something you can kind of solace in your prayer and meditation and everything else, where you feel kind of restful while you do it.
Yes.
You can really kind of reset your day. If you're having a bad day, say rosary in the middle of it, the rest of your day is going to be much better.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't mean to make it sound as though I've totally nailed the daily rosary thing. I have not, but I find that when I do say the rosary, it's hugely beneficial. And
Yes.
I really see that now. I did not see that when I was a teenager. But yeah, it kind of came to a culmination where I had very few friends, by my own making. And, I had this standard sort of Catholic upbringing. I definitely believed the faith. I did not live it very well. I went to church on Sunday, but phoned it in pretty much everywhere else. And it got to the point, my dad had taken me up to Franciscan University to attend a noon mass. And I just kind of broke down in his car. I was about 13 and a half, 14 at the time. And I just started, crying and telling him, I'm just a wretched person. I'm just an awful kid. And I said, I have to go to school.
That had to be a tough moment for your dad too, I imagine.
Oh yeah. But I mean, my father and I have always had a very deep connection. He's had a deep connection with all of us kids. He's always been present. So, if there were ever a time that I went to my dad and was like, hey dad, could you just take a walk and talk with me? Or even that's pretty deep. Maybe I just go to my dad and say hey dad, would you toss a ball with me out front? Do you want to throw a Frisbee? He'd be like, yes. And, he would almost always drop whatever he was doing and go do that. And that was just a huge blessing. With that being said, your kids just make their own choices. And so, they kind of dig their own grave or pit or whatever, they get themselves into situations they shouldn't. And, I was just telling my dad, I'm like, listen, I'm too good at getting around you and mom. I'm the last one of 6 kids. My next brother's 5 years older than me, 6 school years ahead of me. And I'm just good about getting around you guys. And I need discipline, but I don't have enough self-control to discipline myself. So I said, I got to go to school. So he gave me a couple options, and I'm going to try to truncate this story a bit, but an alumnus from this crazy all boys Catholic boarding school moves into our house. And it was my dad's kind of design that we were going to meet and he was going to influence me. And that way I would kind of change, by osmosis. This guy's going to be around and I'm going to kind of take on his qualities. Now, what my dad didn't expect is that within 48 hours, of the guy moving in, he's talked up this school so much, all the crazy adventures he got up to, playing rugby, being a part of an international juggling troupe, having folk music classes, touring around New York City doing juggling shows. I mean, this was so incredible that I was just on fire. I was like, yes, I totally want to go on an adventure like this and to be formed and in all this discipline to really become a man that I'm proud of. And so I went to my dad and I told him that, and he said, wow, okay, well, sure. It's like, well, let's talk to your mom. And my mom was really upset. She was basically giving the last 3 years that she was going to have with her youngest son away. And she wasn't super pleased about that. But I made the case to her that I was like, I need this, I need a firm hand and a firmer hand than you might be willing to give. And she understood, and she was really empowering, and they both were. I mean, they set me up with all my stuff. They packed me up. They sent me out there, and it was 3 incredible years. And I don't mean to, it's called St. Gregory the Great Academy, by the way. Shout out St. Greg's, SGA. This place is fantastic. It was simply an incredible experience. It was a traditional liturgy, which I'd never experienced before, both in the Latin rite, but also,
okay. Yeah. I wanted to stop you there to find out. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So the first time that I was experiencing the TLM, also, we had a Ruthenian priest who came in and would say the Divine Liturgy of St. John Chrysostom for us. And we had another priest who was a Melkite. So he would come in and brand new music. And it was fantastic. And I was part of the Schola. So I got to learn the music to sing for these different liturgies. And I learned the sort of poetry of the Mass. And it really brought my faith to an entirely different level.
Yeah, that would be very different.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would say, every single day, apart from Sunday, we had about 2 hours of rigorous exercise training for rugby. And it was just insane. And the school was small. I mean, there was like 60 guys there total. My first year, there were more like 40. And it was an intense experience. There were ups, there were downs. Not everything was sort of blue skies. There were some difficult moments, especially when you're a difficult person. You can really draw out some of the nastier sides of people when you are not a particularly enjoyable person to begin with. But it really was the best thing that's ever happened to me. Warts and all, I would say it transformed my prayer life. It transformed the way that I encountered work, study, discipline, especially the idea of self-discipline. It was just amazing. So that was kind of the high school experience, major change. And then I went back to Steubenville and got a degree in philosophy and theology and a minor in Latin from Franciscan University. And it was a real change. It was a real change. That was kind of the next stage in my formation. Again, none of this is really too special. I mean, I got to attend a boarding school for 3 years, lived there. That was a bit abnormal, but at the same time, it's just kind of high school. You come of age, you think that, the faith matters. And it's like, wow.
You got a degree in philosophy. Did you have a specific philosophy or philosopher that you focused in on?
Oh, this is a good question. So the philosophy that we studied really ranged from modern to ancient, and medieval as well. So it was really kind of more of a survey study. I would say a major area of interest for me was the intersection of narrative and philosophy, kind of focusing in on Plato, right? This idea that he's scripting Socrates as this moral paragon and that he's encountering other people, but not just spouting off ideas, but in the story, it's illustrating through relationship and dialogue the way that people think and the way that those thoughts then influence action and communion. And I thought that was fascinating, that you could take philosophy and then instantiate it. You could make it incarnational, right? And I thought there was something sort of so proto-Christian to that. And then, of course, I encountered C.S. Lewis, but especially kind of the highest point of this to me is J.R.R. Tolkien. I mean, I think that you could just dive more and more deeply into the philosophy and theology richness of his mind and imagination that he has layered meticulously in his world. I really loved the book Author of the Century. I think it does a really good job of diving into some of his ideas. Also, there's a book by my brother-in-law, Ben Reinhardt, actually, on the liturgy and Tolkien, which I would highly recommend as well. But
that sounds like a neat one, actually.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. Yeah. So to bring kind of the story to somewhat of a conclusion, college kind of rounded off with me making a unique group of friends. So there were 12 of us in total, and we modeled ourselves off of the Inklings. I mean, this is the most nerdy thing that you could imagine, but we would meet
better
together.
the Inklings than the what is it, Dead Poet Society. That's
Indeed.
better than the Inklings every day of the week.
No, indeed. Yeah, so we would meet once a month, sometimes twice a month, and each of us would prepare a presentation on some area of interest that we had, whether it was something we had been writing, something we'd been researching. We had one guy who was a biochemistry major, who's actually a deacon now and going to be ordained a priest. Another guy who was he was doing literature, and he's getting his doctorate actually at, I want to say Baylor now. And then, there were many of us from different places, mathematics majors, philosophy majors. And it was a really amazing group. And we would meet together. We'd have these presentations. We'd have these discussions. And in such a Gen Z, try hard, ridiculous way, we called ourselves the proletariat. And it was clearly tongue in cheek, pseudo Marxist, just sort of mocking the whole thing. But it was, an amazing group. And I say this because it's actually through that group that I then met my wife, which is why I'm here in England, which is, how we're wrapping up the story. So yeah, we stayed close together. All of these guys, a lot of them still live in Steubenville, working, either for the university or actually self-employed. Several of them are craftsmen, even I think helping with St. Joseph the Worker, which is, such a
That's the one that was started by Jacob Imam, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, great place, great people there, especially Mike Sullivan. Shout out to him. But yeah, so that group, and specifically one of the members who sort of was the founding organizer, let's say. There were several founders, but he really organized us, made sure that we met together regularly. And so his name was Clement Harold, and he's a freelance writer as well. You can find his stuff online. And
hopefully I'll be interviewing him at some point.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's so much smarter than me. He's and more virtuous. He's such a great guy.
You guys kind of traded spots because he spends more time in America and you spend more time in England now, right? Isn't that where he's from, or no?
Yeah, not only is this where he's from, this is where he grew up. I live in his hometown. So I live 5 minutes down the road from his family, and it's not because I'm creeping on them. It's because I married his sister. So, which is a whole other, bag. But yeah, so through him, I ended up meeting his sister, and well, the rest is history. So
there you go. Very cool. Yeah, that's a wonderful story. I know you said it was bland, but I didn't hear any bland stuff in there. Probably the blandest thing that I did in college was take philosophy class with somebody that was horrible at teaching it. I had to write an essay on Socrates. Okay, I'll tell this story really quickly, I promise. Okay. But it was ancient philosophy. It was like a 400 level class. I had no business being in there because I wasn't a philosophy major.
Yes.
And so she's like, you got to write an essay on Socrates. I was like, okay. So I wrote an essay on Socrates, turned it in, didn't think anything about it. Next week I got like a C- or something. And she's like, just wrote one thing on it. She wrote, I don't think Socrates would think the way you do. I was like, you guys get coffee every week or something? You know this guy like intimately? Like, what? Where did this come from? Whatever. No explanation. That's it. Just I don't think Socrates would think that way. I was like, lovely. Good.
Oh man. So I forgot to mention this, but you mentioned being quote unquote well read. I think what you actually mean to say is I appear to be well read. And that, my friend, is a result of the 3 years that I spent teaching high school. That is where I learned to put on this affectation of knowledge, where I was the leader in the room full of wisdom. So I apologize for whatever way that I come across as patronizing or anything along those lines.
No,
But yeah, so
you're not coming across patronizing at all.
yeah.
No
No,
need
I
to
really
apologize.
enjoyed being a high school teacher, though. It was really great, and yeah, it was such a privilege. I will say, shout out to Catholic Central as well. That was such a blessing, especially Judith Lucas. Don't think she'll
The
watch
closest I ever got to teaching kids was I did a catechism class when I had no business being a catechist.
Oh,
We got
okay.
through it, but man, well, it was
I don't
definitely
know. I don't know. As long as you're like practicing Catholic, got a catechism on hand, and can use Google, like you're probably better set than like the majority of. Well, anyways.
well, I will say this: whether they knew it before the class started or not, they were all very well versed on the rosary by the time we were done with my catechism.
I love it.
It's like, well, if you got nothing else to rely on, at least pray the rosary whenever you need it. So I was like, whatever, that kind of a thing. But
yeah,
it was something. I also did the they call it protecting God's children now, where like you teach them about like all that's that's a long story, but I got to teach that to a bunch of kids too. And let me tell you about teaching an awkward subject to children. That one is definitely an awkward subject to teach to children. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. On that note, though, so you're over in England. There was something. Oh yeah, yes. I'm pulling up my subjects from earlier so I don't forget them. Sometimes you got to remember what you were planning to talk about. How do you see Christianity in, especially England these days? Where are we at with our Christianity in England?
This is a great question. So there are probably two ways that I want to answer it. On the one hand, let's say in terms of the customs of the people. Now, I would say that in England, the customs here are entirely secular, right? The idea that you would say, start with a prayer before beginning a meeting, absolutely not. That would be worlds away. I mean, only in the most, I would say, devoted evangelical circles would you see that happen, or inside of a church, and that's it. But maybe not even there. Like it really is not their way. And maybe it's because there is a certain attitude of restraint among the British people. Yeah. But I suspect it is because religion has just been sequestered from the public square so entirely. And so what that means is you just don't have prayerful expressions. You don't say God bless. You don't. These are not interaction. These are not the kinds of ways that people interact. Now, let me sort of counterbalance that with one very stark example. I don't think that all of America is like this, for the record, but my wife and I were honeymooning down in South Carolina, Hilton Head Island, beautiful place. And while we were there, we were at this beautiful oceanside restaurant called Hudson's. It's really fantastic. And this woman came up to us. She had heard that we had just gotten married. I think we had told the waitress, and she came over and she said, I just want to say congratulations first off, and second, can I just pray over you? And I was like, yes, you can. And my wife was just like, what? I mean, she was touched, but it was clearly something alien. And she had lived in America before, so it wasn't entirely alien. But, Southern Christians are even more Christian than, other Christians in the States. So, and
they have a very spiritual way about them.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would say more Christian, but definitely more.
I mean, it's just sort of baked more into the culture, I would say. Yeah. And what I mean by that is cultural and sort of customary expression. Yeah. Like, for example, we were in line at a different restaurant that same trip, and this gentleman in front of us, he turns around and he says, "Oh, you guys, newly married?" We said, "Yeah." And he said, "Always keep Christ at the center of your marriage." All right. It's just this old guy just talking to a couple of kids, and he just throws that out there. So that's the first thing I'll say, is that it's curiously absent from all the kind of customs of life. You just don't have even the kind of things. I remember when I lived in Austria, you could just say, when you saw somebody like Grüß Gott, and it was just, I don't remember what it means, but I know that it is a mention of God. I never learned German or Austrian, whatever it is. I wasn't a very good foreign exchange student. But yeah, so, there are ways in which God still even is relevant as a vestige. And I think he's largely been successfully removed. And I think that was intentional. I don't think that's like an accident. I think secularism has just won. Now, with that being
that
said,
makes me circle back though. If you do read the Space Trilogy, the third book, this is what C.S. Lewis predicted would happen in England.
Oh, really? Wow. Yes. I definitely will read that. That sounds,
I mean, he basically like nailed it with how God was removed from society and things changed and things got very progressive and secular. That's the premise of kind of that book, the third one.
Yeah. Well, that sounds spot on. So, well, certainly a vote to read that. Yeah. So I would say though, on the other hand, if you kind of set the culture and the customs aside, there is a very real beating heart of Catholic and Christian faith in this country. And it's more than a little. It's actually quite present. And especially among the young, there is a real resurgence. There's a real revival going on in this country. Now, I can't speak to the exact statistics to this. I know that it's gone up. I think that the overall, I think the age demographic of 18 to 28, something around there, is up to 40% of, are Catholic who attend mass on Sundays, something along those lines. Anglican is 20%, and that's up 11% from a previous year, or something along those lines. I don't know. Statistics, they escape me. But
the way you said that,
significant increase.
My brain was thinking you said 40% of Catholics who attend mass are Catholic. And I was like, wait, what?
No, so like there's no 40% of Christians in this country who attend mass on Sunday are Catholic.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not. Well, I wouldn't be wrong. Just for the record, I wouldn't be wrong if I said that. No, I'd be stupid, but I wouldn't be wrong. I mean, come on.
I mean, no, there's a lot of the lukewarm thing going on everywhere. I mean, that's part of the sadness of the current state of the Christian religion in general, across any sect of Christianity. It feels that way.
Well, but what I'm saying, and this is a little bit different than that, is that this is actually increasing. So the amount of
it's going up. Yes.
It's great news, especially among this crowd of Gen Z. You have increasingly more young people who are attending mass on Sunday, who are coming to their faith. And, I can't speak to the statistics, but I can speak to my own personal experience. And my wife and I, we attend this church, St. John's in Bath. It's a beautiful parish. And one of the things that was very stark, I mentioned to you before the show that my brother-in-law, Clement Harold, and I both gave a series of talks under the direction of the parish priest, Father Christopher, at the parish of St. John's during Lent and during Advent. And during Lent, we made the acquaintance of a number of different couples. And each of these couples were converts to Catholicism. And most of them were converts from nothing, which was fascinating to me. And a huge point of this was actually caused by 2020. It was the time in the lockdowns where it seemed like the world was crashing down around them. And it was also online apologists who influenced the way that they thought and, brought to them the truth of the Catholic faith in an approachable medium, podcasts and all sorts of things like this. So there is a real transformation going on there. So even though the customs and the culture have been secularized, not only is Christianity here, but it's alive, it's it's growing. And I mean, the biggest opposition that it has is just a culture that is, aggressively antagonistic.
A foreign antagonistic culture that's seeping its way in, we'll say.
Yeah, exactly.
At least you're not competing with the new atheist movement anymore, like Richard Dawkins and all that, because that was pretty strong in like the early 2000s to like the early 2010s. That even seeped into like college I went to U of M Dearborn, and that was seeping its way in over there. There was a lot of secular Muslims, a lot of secular Christians, and then various other Eastern religions that had lost their faith as well. And it was, I mean, there was still actually the biggest, what I'll call rigid religious people at U of M Dearborn are the Muslims. I mean, it's very obvious. It's a huge Muslim community over there.
Yeah.
And that was an interesting culture that I kind of clashed with a little bit. But to say the least, the new atheist movement is pretty much dead. Like there's no movement in the new atheist movement anymore, almost at all. I don't know if it's the same in England, but I don't see it at all over here.
Yeah, no, I think there's a noticeable shift towards something like Alex O'Connor. There is this sober-minded, let's sit down, let's have a chat. At the end of the day, though, I have my objections. They're reasonable. And you have your position, which I'll admit has internal consistency. And both sides can kind of say that at the same time, so I think that what somebody like Alex O'Connor, though, raises to my mind is the reality. And I say this in speculation. This is my suspicion that what we see is oftentimes more a hesitancy or a disease of the will and less of the mind or the intellect.
Yeah.
That it's not that you just need this one question to be answered and then suddenly you'll finally start trusting the church. It's that trust is really this movement of the will in relationship. And that sometimes, yes, there are things that need to be cleared up. If, there's an issue between you and your wife before that relationship really has solid trust again, maybe that needs to be addressed by conversation and, a sober discussion. But if that trust just has never existed, the idea that, well, if we just interrogate every single question, I think we'll get to the answer. It's like, I think you're treating a head injury by icing your foot. I think we're addressing kind of the wrong area of disease. Now, I don't mean to say that in a derogatory way, like a head injury, like, well, they are brain damaged. That just, replace that with a different appendage. But,
no, it's interesting you brought up the brain death thing. I'm actually having an interview with a doctor that specifically addresses brain death here in a few weeks. That'll be interesting. But side note, I like that thought process there. Like there's like no intention of the will to move towards Christianity. There's no intention, like they don't have that. It's not built in for them. They're not there. Their will is not aligned towards God at this moment. And so Alex O'Connor, no matter how many questions are answered for him, he's got to have the will to go there.
Sure. I mean, I would probably rein that in a little bit more, at least with what I'm saying. Just because I can't speak to the state of his soul or where.
No. I'm not. I'm saying like generally speaking. I know what you mean.
Yeah. I would say, yes, and I would add to that the movement of the will needs to be one of trust. That what that means is it's a kind of outreach.
Yeah.
It's taking the other as if he were credible before you believe him.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
And it's such a radical step that almost to the skeptic, it doesn't actually make any sense. You're like, hold on a second. You're telling me I just have to believe you before you prove something to me. And it's like, in a sense, yes, it's kind of like you have to open your eyes before you can actually see.
Take a little leap of faith.
Yeah. Or a leap into faith. Yeah. It's very strange. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought process.
He's a guy who I'd love to meet, by the way. Alex.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Is he is English, right? Alex O'Connor?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. I've heard at least one debate. I don't remember who he's debating though. Okay, where was I going with this? Okay, so I went to U of M Dearborn that dealt with like kind of the rigid aspect of the Muslim aspect. So here's something that's interesting that I've never seen in America before, but it seems like it might be something that does happen maybe over. I don't know. You'd have to maybe jump on that for me, but we just had like some actual streets in Dearborn renamed after like Muslim religious extremists, which is really bizarre to me. Yeah.
That is bizarre. I have not heard of that here. That is very strange.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the mayor of Dearborn, they had a council hearing, and there was a Christian who went into to actually protest such a thing from happening. And the mayor told him to get lost and leave. Just leave the town, go somewhere else, live somewhere that he's accepted instead of in this town. I'm like, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's tricky though. I mean, American individualism is such an interesting thing because clearly a place has tradition and a place has culture and a place has custom. But when that place's culture and custom is one of revolution, where you place the individual over the collective, well, not even collective. I don't want to be a collectivist, but this idea of the individual over the family, right? The collection as formed by the family, the will over the mind in some way. I don't know. That kind of thing just makes more sense to me. It's like, well, we have a new group of people here, and they've named the streets after something that they like. You're like,
Yeah.
yeah, that tracks. There you go. But it's a bummer for all the people who, raised children there and, did the ordinary family thing. And you can see why that kind of is abrasive. But in some ways, I think this is almost kind of the
A
liberal
self-fulfilling
ideology kind of coming to roost against natural human family and its inclinations.
Yeah,
I
it's like a
think that
self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
yeah.
It is interesting. I read. Have you ever read any of Dr. Carey Gress's books?
Oh my gosh. Yes. I
Yeah.
got to
Okay.
meet her at the ARC conference in London last year. She is an absolutely wonderful person. I loved her book, The End of Woman. Anyways, you can talk.
So I've recently gone through a spree of Dr. Carey Gress's books.
Nice.
I just finished reading The Marian Option. That was my wife's favorite of the bunch she's written. And she did read Wicked. We've got a signed copy of that in the house too. But or something Wicked, whatever the new one's called. I ordered it for my wife, and she really enjoyed that one as well. But the Marian Option was interesting because I had no idea how many times Mary has overcome foreign invasions, especially with the Muslim faith and whatnot. And
Our Lady
converted,
of Victory, Lady of the Rosary, right?
But also the conversions that occurred after these victories that were won.
Really,
it's a lot of conversions in formerly Muslim lands or formerly Islamic territories, whatever you want to call them. And it's like Mary has been like one of the biggest conversion forces for those groups. It's crazy to me. So
gotta love it. Our mother getting it done.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that's, speaking of Anglicanism versus Catholicism, in America, we have a similar shift going on. But right now, the Protestants are mostly raising kids that become nuns, like not like NUNs, but like no religion.
Yeah.
Non-religious. But the Catholic percentage has maintained. And the nuns, when they convert to something, they go to something that's more extreme or traditional or rigid. They want something that's more rigid, not the Protestantism where it's like once saved, always saved, good to go kind of a thing. They want actual rules to follow. Like what you're talking about when you said you wanted a school that would actually discipline you.
Yeah.
This is something that I think Gen Z is missing because not because of how you were raised. Obviously, that's not the issue there. But
sure,
But like a lot of Gen Z is missing that and how they're being raised. They're subjected to like weird rules or things that are not very stringent or things that are not very rigid with their faith. And so when they find something like actual traditional Catholic values, they're like, wow, I want that.
Yeah. It's almost as if the beauty of life has kind of been removed in the same way that it's been removed from our architecture. You can kind of see that moral living has in some ways been reduced to pragmatism. You just kind of do what you need to do to get along. But what you quickly realize is that being pragmatic isn't pragmatic. You need to be virtuous because you need to not only do what's good, you got to want to do what's good and then enjoy doing what's good if you're ever going to be good. And that's just kind of virtue. And when you just do what's good because you're just trying to get along, what you find is doing good is really hard. It feels really tough when you don't want to do it, when you haven't ordered your will towards it. And then all of a sudden, it's like, well, if I can get away with more, maybe I can. And what you don't realize is the net effect of that is you become a wretched, miserable person. You fast forward after 1,000 of those kinds of choices where you're cutting corners and you're like, wow, I'm the person who lies and cuts corners and is just kind of a loser. You're like, yeah, you don't want to be that.
That's why it's so important that we recognize as Catholics that the ends do not justify the means. That is not a Catholic value. Indeed. And a lot of people think it does, and that it's acceptable to do something that may be morally wrong or headed in the wrong direction, as long as there's a good outcome. That's really not a Catholic value at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so next question for you. You kind of addressed the Gen Z stuff that I was going to cover, but the pro-life movement in England.
Yes.
So let's talk about that. What does the pro-life movement in England look like right now?
Oh, in a word, bleak. I don't know. Okay. I mean, I would say you
guys don't have the MAID program like Canada does, or do you?
Yet.
Yet.
So,
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
this is a really big issue. Assisted suicide has passed all 3 votes in regular parliament. It is now
Okay.
in the House of Lords and being actively debated. And so our organization, SPUC, does a lot to actually disseminate the information around these issues. So we have folks in Parliament, parliamentary officers around the clock who are basically listening in on these things, trying to get meetings with parliamentarians and change their minds. Doing the best they can to give them the newest data to try to help them see, how horrible MAID is in Canada. And if they can, just try to change their moral outlook as well. There are several factors, though, in addition to that. I mean, that's pro-life adjacent. Obviously the kind of primary focus of pro-life work is abortion. But I mean, assisted suicide is
that'd be second place,
equally
I think,
important.
Behind, right?
Well, I mean, I don't necessarily wish to rank these things, but at least in terms
what I
of,
mean is like priorities. When you go to priorities, right?
Yes. When you have an organization that is aimed at the defeating of abortion, its priority happens to be ending abortion. So,
really?
yeah, so,
sure? No.
I know it's mind blowing, but yeah. So a couple of other things that we've had to contend with are buffer zones. That's a huge obstacle to our work. Whereas in America, you can have, I mean, daily around the clock vigils outside of abortion clinics where you have young people praying. I did this a couple of times when I was at university. I knew people who would do this every single weekend.
I know people that have gotten arrested for doing it in America.
Okay. Well, these folks, not only can you not do that, okay, which, fair enough. Maybe you can't get in. The buffer zones means that you can't even stand within 150 meters of an abortion facility here and silently pray in your head.
That's crazy.
And it is insane. It is insane. I mean, this is pure Orwell thought policing. I mean, the best example of this is Isabel von Spruce, who is recently arrested and charged with this thought crime. She was caught praying in her mind, and she, police officer comes up to her and says, "What are you doing? And, are you praying? And are you praying silently in your head?" And she says, "I might be." And at that, he arrests her. I mean, it's crazy. It's almost too crazy to be scripted.
Well, the worst part is so let's say you're praying outside of an abortion clinic or whatever you want to call those places in England, and you're doing it silently and you're not bothering anybody, and a police officer comes by. Well, who's going to be honest about what they're doing? Christians will be. They will. They'll say, "Yeah, I was praying." Of course. Yeah. So if they're dishonest about it, well, then you're breaking your Christian morals. So you have to be honest that, yes, I was praying. I was too close to the abortion clinic. And although I wasn't disturbing anybody, I guess I was technically breaking this law that you guys made up.
Yeah. No, it's such an underhanded set of laws that are, yes, very much exploiting the Christian desire for, virtue and integrity, especially honesty. Yeah. So that's one thing that we have to contend with. Another thing that I'd bring up is pills by post, which I know exists in America as well. But I mean, I just want to draw your attention to one thing. So 89% of the abortions that happen here happen early in pregnancy. Okay. And that is a result of pills by post. And I just want to draw your attention to this. Abortions in 2023, they just released this data. Since 2022, 250,000 people were killed by abortion in this country.
That's awful.
So 277,970 people had their lives ended. And that's up 11% from the previous year in 2022. I hear that people say, "Oh, well, we're just in for women's choice, the fringe issues." And it's so clear these are red herrings. This is a travesty that is going on here. I mean, I was reading an article the other day that claimed that 1/3 of Gen Z, my generation, has been aborted. I mean, this is incredible. I mean, incredible in the same way that the Saw movies are incredible, incredibly horrific. I mean, it's almost too awful to even be able to comprehend. I mean, I was just reading the other day as well from the same article that the global count from abortion is just nigh of 1 billion. So it'd be 900 million people since the legalization of abortion have been killed.
It's more people than any other war, and really, You could probably we probably outpaced all of human sacrifice throughout all of human history at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's mind boggling. But, kind of getting back to this idea of pills by post, one of the biggest issues around it is actually policing. You just can't easily police it. People can call in and misreport how many weeks along they are. And so even though pills by post is only allowed up to 9 weeks, we have documented cases of women who abuse this and who intentionally end their pregnancies after 9 weeks by acquiring pills by post. I mean, flagrantly breaking the law in these cases. And how does the government respond? Well, it responds by actually decriminalizing abortion. So,
like,
its response is that.
What is the general abortion law in England then?
So on the books, I believe since the Victorian era, it is illegal to end a child's life. So this is punishable. It's a criminal offense. Now, there are fringe cases that were allowed in 1967 for the Abortion Act. Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure about the exact names of these things, but
Okay,
pretty sure
okay.
the Abortion Care Act. Now, the important thing about the pills by post issue is that you can't effectively police it. You can't make sure that people are taking it when they say they're going to, or that they're actually as far along as they claim. But part of the issue for this, and this is what I mean, is that moving through to the House of Lords actually just this week is the decriminalization of abortion. So it's actually the elimination of that law from the Victorian era. Now, it's not really taken very seriously. Yeah, I know. But I mean, they're removing it even from the books. And, law is a pedagogue. Law is a teacher, right? When we have laws in culture, even if they aren't necessarily enacted, they are still moral instructors. And when we remove laws, you can very much guarantee that that is sending a moral message.
Total
You're saying that something is no longer wrong. Yeah. So, it's a significant thing, and I hope that the Lords debate it well, and I hope that they reject it for the awful miscarriage of justice that it is. Yeah.
Yeah. If it makes you feel better, Michigan's actually worse than England at this point because we have enshrined in our state constitution abortion as healthcare. Not only that, but gender dysphoric surgeries are protected by law, and we're talking minors. We're not even talking like adults doing this. It's any child above the age of 12 has they get like a silo of secrecy between their medical doctors and their parents, and I'm like, yeah, that's ridiculous. And then on top of that, now abortion and all of the gender affirming, whatever you want to call it, that's all legal for a child to do without their parents' consent.
Yeah, I mean, it's like living in the upside down. It's sort of grotesque and horrifying and just mind-boggling. Yeah, I mean, Christ come.
the other aspect that I find so interesting, the pills by mail, if you don't have a good way to police it, or if you're not policing it at all, who's to say you don't have a sex trafficking person ordering these pills and just dealing them to women who he wants to keep using for his illegal business?
Yeah, it's not outside the realm of possibility.
Right. It's a huge danger to not only the children who are now going to be aborted by these pills, but it's also a danger to the women. And I don't think anybody really comprehends just how damaging it is to these women, on top of the fact that they're killing their own children. Psychologically, physically, emotionally, spiritually. I mean, every way you are damaging a person by doing these things. And it's more dangerous for these women that these pills exist than it would be if they didn't.
Yeah, nobody really thinks about the fact that abortion is the best way to cover up abuse.
Yes.
Get rid of the evidence, get rid of the consequences. I mean, it's so barbaric. It's awful.
What is sad is when you see these things that happen, they now have an abortion pill, reversal pill. So if you a certain number of hours, you can get a reversal pill. It's we shouldn't even need that, because we shouldn't need the abortion pills in the first place. But the fact that we have now a pill that reverses the other pill, it's like a chain link of
Well, I
pills
know,
that
but I
people.
mean, what's crazy about it is that the reversal pill is just progesterone. I mean, it's just the natural occurring hormone in a woman's body that would just allow the baby to live and
Yeah.
to not be starved to death, which is what mifepristone does. So, I mean, it's just
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's crazy.
Yeah. So I guess I just find it interesting that we go from like World War II, where there was so much death and war, to now we just kill babies. Like, how do you go from World War II to abortion is healthcare? You go from an extremely morally evil war, like according to all historians, right?
Sure.
I don't know. I know not all Gen Z people subscribe to that, but I'm just saying, like, morally reprehensible things were done during World War II.
Sure. Sure.
And then we just decided, let's just kill babies. Like, how on earth do we go from, like, I don't understand how the civilization moved in that direction. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, partially it's a trivialization of human life, just taking each other less seriously, less sacredly, you might say.
Yeah.
Part of it is I don't know, I don't know if this is the right word, but the sort of desacralization, the demystification of the world, where everything is matter and everything is consequent, everything is a consequence of matter and one form of physical causality. And so I think that a lot of these philosophies got to play out on the stage of the world wars. You had people saying, okay, well, if might makes right, then let's be the mightiest. And I don't necessarily see those people as being, stupid. They are being evil. I think they have abused their reason. I think they've warped their wills. But I also think that the people who say, well, abolish the family and abolish, religion, this organizing principle where we guide ourselves towards the highest good and
We're talking
train our
about
wills to do
Marxism.
so.
They were talking about Marxism
Oh,
attacking on the church, right?
oh, very much. Yes.
Yeah. Like Saul Alinsky and all that too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, and I mean, this is, I recently published an article, and by recently, I mean 2 hours ago, you know, a, a little article on the Catholic Herald, God, Country, and Family, the Virtues Liberalism Forgets.
Do you have
And
that link in the private chat so I can put it up in the chat we have here? I can put it up on the screen, I think.
I do. Yeah. I'll pop it down there. It's a really, a topic that matters a great deal to me. These kind of virtues that are, let's say, justice adjacent. They're the virtues that Thomas Aquinas would say justice annexes, sort of absorbs into itself. If political justice has to do with both paying to others what they are due, giving to others,
I didn't
rendering.
mean to do that one. It's not the one I wanted. I'm sorry.
If justice is rendering to others what they are due,
there we go.
It also involves a certain equality between the parties. And the issue with these three virtues, or two virtues, sort of one bifurcated, is that they don't deal with equality at all. They deal with an explicit inequality. And the inequalities here are those of repayment. You could never repay these parties. And these people are in ascending order. Your parents, who give you life and upbringing, they give you everything that you are apart from what nature provides itself. And they also provided that nature. And so you can't give that life back. You can't give an upbringing back to them. All you can do is love and honor them. The next level up is actually your political community. And through your political community, they give you your customs, the order of law, the ordinary circumstances by which you come to live. And that could be the system by which food is available because of all the people who are farmers, or the various tools that are available because of the craftsmen, everything that makes up ordinary life. And guess what? You can't give it back. Those people are falling out of existence all the time, are dying, and you can't give back the upbringing and the customs that gave them. So what do? You give honor and service to your political community. And then last of all is God, who gave, all the above. And to him, we give the highest of all loves. We give him worship. And so these three virtues are religion as the highest, then patriotism and piety, pietas.
Yep.
And these virtues are absolutely forgotten by modern liberalism. And not just, I would say, you could say, well, hold on a second. Patriotism is not forgotten by modern liberalism, okay? The French Revolution was full of patriotism, love of the fatherland. And this is a very interesting point, that father is replaced by brother. Instead of
Yes.
paternity, you have fraternity, right? Instead of hierarchy, you have equality. And this is a real shift in liberalism. It's not what I owe because I have been given what I did not deserve. It's not that I am a gift. It's not that you are a product of love, this movement of will that you can never repay, but you can do the best you can to repay it. No, instead, it's what I'm owed. And this
Yeah.
is a curious shift. It's almost like putting the emphasis on the wrong syllable, right? I mean, it's like, am I owed something? Do I have rights? It's like, okay, sure. Yeah, absolutely. You have a right to speak freely, but because you have a duty to say the truth, okay? And this is a different thing, is that the rights that we possess, we're always understood to rest on duties, or rather, we didn't even need to really talk about rights, because when we understood our duties, it flowed naturally that we were free to do these things, or that the father, or the nation would be able to restrict these things for our own good. Now, this is kind of the interesting point to me, I suppose, that these virtues primarily highlight to us the gift that we are.
Yeah.
And that it doesn't stop there. It's like, wow, I'm a gift. I'm a gift. I'm a gift. This is so wonderful. It's like, okay, no. If you're a gift, let's go to the next logical step. What do you do with gifts? You give them, right? Self-donation. And I think this is St. John Paul II, this idea that we only discover ourselves when we make a sincere gift of self. And this is kind of the incredible thing, is like,
do you mind if I stop you? I mean, that's really it's really what Paul writes about marriage, is that the man, the husband, needs to be Christ to his family, essentially. And he needs to go to the cross for his family if he has to. That's the ultimate act of giving, is what the man is asked to do for his family. And then the wife is asked to submit, and the children need to submit. There's the so on and so forth. But the idea that the ultimate man is the man who would go to the cross for his family, that to me is always kind of put my brain in the right direction. Like when I'm struggling with my man, like being a man and being a husband and being a father. Yeah. If I think about it that way, I'm like, okay, it's time to set down this thing that I want to do and do something for the family, for God, for whatever I need to do, instead of sitting back and reading instead of doing what I'm supposed to,
Right. But then you fall into pride immediately because you do like the dishes and you're like, I'm so amazing.
That does happen. You're not wrong.
Yeah. No, it's great. But yeah, I mean, it's just so powerful. When you give yourself as a gift, that's the best way that you honor your parents, is by having children of your own, right?
Yeah.
The best way that you honor the political community is by passing on the customs and the order that you were given, by obeying the laws and teaching others to do the same. And the same with religion. The best way that you can love God is to teach others what he has done for them and how they can love him too. Because it's not only good for them, but it's the highest good for them. And this is the ordering principle around which society then orients itself, like we orient ourselves in a church toward the one who made us. It's just amazing to me, though, how quickly society fell apart when we eliminated these things. When we no longer elevated the idea of the gift. And by the way, the response to the gift, which is gratitude, and gratitude, which, as Chesterton would say, really only has teeth when it is expressed in sacrifice, as you were just saying, right? Okay. It's like when a husband is really grateful in some ways for the gift that his family is, then he lays himself down as a sacrifice out of that gratitude, right? And it makes it sweet. It makes it easier when you actually experience the gratitude for the gift. It's not this onerous activity to lay yourself down. It's like, of course, there's a moral agility that comes when we actually see all the good things we've been giving. We want to then turn around and re-gift them. So that's kind of the thrust of the article. There are some other things to it, but that's really the bottom line. These are things that I was taught for a very long time at university, but also back in high school, and things that I just think matter so much. And I think especially today, they are sorely neglected.
Absolutely. Yeah. The other interesting aspect of that is that love and tolerance, people seem to equivocate those two things. Like, if I tolerate this person, that's loving them. No, loving somebody is telling them telling them the harsh reality or the harsh truth, even when you don't want to, or they don't want to hear it, in a loving and caring way.
Yeah, that's really well put. I think that it also is an inversion of a natural, let's say, a natural virtue, a natural occurrence of patience. It's like, should a father be, let's say, what was the word you used just then?
Equivocate
No,
or
no, no, no.
tolerance.
Tolerance. Yeah. It's like, should a father be tolerant of his children's imperfections? It's like, to a point, yes. He doesn't need to be going around yelling at his kids all the time for every silly, stupid thing that they do. And there is a certain virtue to, having a bit of thick skin and being able to take on a little bit of chaos. It's knowing in some ways when to interject order, when to correct. This is when love really finds its voice and its footing, where you're like, okay, everything up to this point was fine, but that was a touch too far, son. Like we're gonna change that now.
Yeah.
Let's right the ship. And that's really kind of the beauty of the correction as it finds its place in love. But you're right. I mean, when vicious activity becomes the norm, there's no room for tolerance at this point. I mean, there needs to be, serious conversation.
Right.
Yeah. And that is love. That is love. Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree.
All right, I think we've actually hit all the topics I had listed for today, but
Great.
Is there anything else that you wanted to discuss that we haven't hit yet?
What have you been reading lately?
I've actually been reading King Arthur, believe it or not.
No way. Whose translation?
It's like one of the older ones. It was done by Folio Society back in like the 90s. So it's like the sewn binding. It's like a triple volume. I wanted this version because it's not missing anything.
Okay.
It's got like the tales of what is it, Sir Tor, all of his stuff's in there.
Yeah.
And it's got all of the Arthur stories, and then there's a third volume, and I think that's the La Morte de Arthur. So like that's the end of the. So like I've got everything. That's what I wanted. I wanted a collection that was succinct and had everything in it. But it is like the older English, so it's like the and then, it's like consistently doing that.
Awesome. Yeah. I had the opportunity to teach La Morte d'Arthur when I was at the high school. It was such a uniquely challenging experience trying to get myself and these kids interested in a story, which I just think is largely lost on a modern audience. There are so many jousts and so many odd things that happen. The quest for the Grail, I remember that being very entertaining. And shout out to Galahad. He's our man.
Yeah, so I'm reading that one. I'm also reading another English author, my senior Ronald Knox, Enthusiasm.
I've never actually heard of him. I mean, I've seen his name, I think, on my dad's shelves maybe, but I have not read him.
So Knox is he was really the last Bible translator to do it by himself all the way through. He did like a modern English version of the Bible in like the 1950s, and it was only based on the Vulgate.
Wow. Okay.
So like that, he was like the last like true Vulgate only translation of the Bible to modern English.
Wow. Okay.
So like he did it's called like the Knox translation, and in his like he has a book called On Englishing the Bible. And he basically says, once you've done a translation of the Bible, like that's what people know you about. It's like none of your other work matters. You are now one of the translations of the Bible. So his is the Knox translation.
Okay. Oh,
and his dad was actually like a famous bishop in the Anglican church, and he converted from being an Anglican priest back in like the in the same vein as like John Henry Newman, right?
John Henry Newman. Yes. Yeah.
Same idea. It's almost the same thing. Like he was an Anglican priest. He found that the Catholic Church held the truth, and so he converts over. Well, his book Enthusiasm is so interesting because it delves through almost all of the heretical sects that have existed in the church throughout the last 2,000 years. And it talks about how like enthusiasm both waxes and wanes. And these heretical movements all start out with like a rigid traditionalist ideal that seems to be more true than the truth. And it always devolves into some degenerate behavior, and it loses the enthusiasm and the movement dies. Gotcha. Whereas the truth that is the Catholic Church whether it's enthusiastic at any point in history, still has the truth. And so it maintains itself.
Wow. That is very interesting. What was the name of the book again?
Literally, it's just called Enthusiasm.
Enthusiasm. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I want to write that down.
You should check. If you're interested, you should check it out. He's a very prolific writer. He actually was somewhat associated with Chesterton. Him and Chesterton are somewhat associated together. I think he even wrote an article on Chesterton when he died. I think he was one of the ones that wrote an article on that. And actually, Knox wrote detective fiction. So like him and Chesterton were both kind of doing that.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell myself a little bit here. So I taught, for one of my classes in literature, I taught the first half of Orthodoxy, and I must have read it like 14 or 15 times. And it was my favorite first half of any book I'd ever read, bar none. And I mean, I knew it very, very intricately. I never got around reading the second half. Okay. This is the most embarrassing thing, because I would be going around being like, oh, I love this book. It's like my favorite book. And people are like, oh, like, what did you think of the ending? And I was like, I bet it was great.
I bet it was great. Oh my goodness.
So yeah, I've just started reading the second half just this past month. And I mean, lo and behold, I actually really like the second half too.
So I read Orthodoxy. I read two Chesterton books together, actually. I read Orthodoxy at the same time when I was reading The Ball and the Cross. Have you read that one?
No, it's one of his novels, though, right?
Yes.
About a man like defending the honor of Our Lady.
Yes. Yeah. That's no. Yes. Yeah. Good. Because The Ball and the Cross is like, there's like two stories going on at once in that book. So that's all, it adds to the confusion. But in the middle of Orthodoxy, clearly he wrote this one before he wrote The Ball and the Cross. He like presupposes a fictional story, and the thing that he presupposes in Orthodoxy is actually one of the plot points in The Ball and the Cross. So it's funny, as I'm reading Orthodoxy and he's like thinking about this other book in the middle of Orthodoxy, and then I'm reading this book that clearly was the book he was thinking about in the middle of writing. It's just like he's just a wonderful writer, and like I imagine he would talk the way he probably wrote.
I like his approach. I really think he writes. I mean, he was a newspaperman. I just think he writes that way, sort of in this media style that's like, as long as you trust that he knows where he's going, he's actually a really fun guide. Like, I think you only don't trust, like, when you want somebody to get to the point, I think you just don't trust them yet. When somebody's kind of meandering, you're like, all right, just like, let's get to it. And I think when you just choose to trust them, you don't mind if they take you around like sightsee. And I really feel like reading his chapters are kind of like that. When you're reading Flag of the World, when you're reading these different, you're just like, okay, yeah, take me somewhere new. Teach me something I didn't know. Say something new and weird, and let's see how it all kind of fits together eventually. I feel very similarly about that with Dickens. I think Dickens is a high trust author. You really need to buy in.
Yeah, I have to say my least favorite, if I had to pick a least favorite, and I agree with what you're saying in the private chat here, but my least favorite Chesterton book was actually the St. Francis book. It was a combination, though. It was a combination. So I got it from the library, and it was clearly like somebody like AI did or something to make this particular publication, because there was no paragraphs at all. There's no page numbers at all.
Oh, no.
It was just one long run-on script from start to finish.
Yeah.
It was impossible. I mean, like, trying to read this thing was impossible.
Oh.
So that added to it. But I also just the dancing around reading about a saint. Like, I just want the facts. Please just give me the facts about St. Francis.
Yeah.
That was my issue. But that's the only one I didn't like from Chesterton. I've liked everything else I've read by him. I'm currently reading through there's a third book I'm reading. I'm reading too many books at once, but I am reading through all of the Father Brown mysteries. Like, when I have 20 minutes, I'll just pick up that and read that for 20 minutes and finish one of the Father Brown mysteries. And it's another Folio Society publication. So it's like sewn binding, and it'll outlast my lifetime. But yeah, anyways.
I'm working on one other one, which I had in mind, like, when I went into this whole conversation, and it's called Training the Tongue. And it's, Father Gregory Pine.
Yeah.
So he just published this book, and I got a copy when I was back in Steubenville, and I started reading it, and he's going through all the ways that you can totally ruin your soul through the tongue. And I'm like, oh no, I have this interview coming up. Oh no. So, I'll have a nice examination of conscience after this, and we'll see.
You're going to feel real scrupulous about your next confession. That's
Oh,
that's the
man.
one danger of like thinking about everything you say is the scrupulosity that can come out of it. But
That's fair, that's fair. Training the tongue, though, is I give it a shout out. I'm really enjoying it, and just a great treatment of Tom. Is very approachable, which is, exactly what I
I
need.
will definitely check that one out for sure. All right. Well, on that note, I appreciate you giving me your time to have this interview and chat. And
Yeah.
if we find time again, I'd definitely talk to you again. Wherever you're at that point, whether you're writing tons of articles or still doing the pro life, or if you're writing books at that point, who knows? But I could see you going in a lot of directions.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, Chris, it's such an honor, and it was great to meet you in Steubenville. It was really cool to have this opportunity to speak with you. You're a really great guy. It's really fun to connect with another like-minded individual, and yeah. So thanks so much. You mind if I give a little personal shout out to myself here?
Yeah, go ahead, do it.
Okay, so I don't really post anything, but you can follow me on Twitter or X, sorry, at Hahnlander. We were the Highlanders in high school. We were a rugby team, and so they called me the Hahnlander.
It's
It's a terrible name.
HAHNLANDER, correct?
That's correct.
All right, I'm
Yeah,
going to put it
yeah,
up on the screen real quick for anybody that actually wants that information. There you go.
yep. There you go. All right, and I'll try to occasionally post.
Sounds good. That
Very
sounds good. Go follow him on X. Check out his articles with the Herald and the Catholic Herald. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys.